A few differences that we have in cylinder styles that need to be taken accounted for is the previous 7/8 bore cylinder. Some differences between it and the 9/16 bored cylinder is obviously the fittings that we use for the smaller diameter hose. These fittings just remove with a flathead screwdriver, and have a few O-rings that will need to be serviced as well. So you have an O-ring here at the bottom that seats with the surface of the cylinder and the surface of the mount. So we'll replace that. And also O-ring on the top side as well at the head of the bolt, which generally speaking these O-rings last a long time. Don't receive the abuse as what the flat O-ring does on the bottom. So chances are you won't have to do anything with that one. Take note that the raised surface is the part that seats to the cylinder, and it would return back in this orientation here. So the head of the bolt goes on the flush side where there's not a raise. Also, you have an O-ring that seats in between the nipple here and the brass body at this point here, which will also need to be replaced. Once you get these started, you can just thread them off. So we have part number 5485K23, which is a 3/8 pipe size to 1 13/32 length. We'll use these to replace both of those. So when you put these on, they'll be convexed, trying to stay with the contour of the thread. So if you work your fingernail into the thread of them, you can seat them solidly against the base. And that can be reapplied to the brass body of it. And tightened. Careful not to over tighten, because over tightening pushes the O-ring outside of the body, which then it won't seal. So you replace that one, and same thing with the one that meets against the cylinder body as well. Again, just use your fingernail and chase the threads around until that washer seats flat against the body. Turn should look like that. And then you can reapply that to the body of the cylinder once everything is cleaned and polished. Make sure that you had followed your drawing to get your orientation in the proper direction for which way that fitting faces. Another difference between the 9/16 and the 7/8 is the C-cup that sits inside the end here. So we'll use our O-ring tool to remove the nylon guides and the O-ring. Then we can use our vise with the shoes to remove the piston. Our stop, which depending on which cylinder you have will depend on whether there is a stop or the length of the stop. Then you can remove your push rod, and then you can access your C-cup. So using an O-ring tool, you can get in there and hook that and pull that out. It's not quite as easy to remove or replace this cup as it is on the 7/8 bore, but a little bit of finesse you can remove it and get it to seat properly again. So we use a replacement kit, 9/16 end bore end seal kit, which is 17.522, and we're just going to use the seal and not the backer for it. Then again, you'll want to take and clean up the surface that the seal sits against with a piece of gray Scotch-Brite. Just a mild once over to clean the contaminants out. Same thing with a piece of paper towel to ensure that you've got all the debris out of there. And you'll be ready to put your seal back into it. So use your synthetic grease and apply that to the cup portion. And slide them out to the back side as well, so it'll seat properly. Then you need to pinch the O-ring so that it's ovaled and insert one side, and then try to work the rest of it down into there until you have the entirety of it excuse me, the entirety of it sat into there. May take multiple tries. Generally speaking, it wants to feed through rather than seating into its groove like it's supposed to, so you have to retrieve it back out and try again. Careful that you're not poking holes in your new seal while retrieving it out. So once you've got it to seat in there where it hasn't passed through into the bushing, then you can start working it around to where it seats all the way. So once you've got it to seat all the way around and it's pretty close, you can just pass your push rod through to make sure it's actually seated the way it's supposed to be. And then you can continue on to your final assembly as you did with 7/8, adding your push rod, stop, and piston with new O-rings back on.
Cool, that's it.
That should be it.